drugs. Every day we hear in television and read in newspapers that huge quantity of narcotic drugs or psychotropic substances have been recovered from one part or the other of the world, which is meant for supply to drug addicts. Now the question rises, why drug abuse and what are the symptoms of drug addicts? These are the most important or burning points for discussion today. Friends, I am Dr. J.N. Barowalia, visiting professor to academies, imparting training to judges, police officers, administrative officers, forest officers, and I am also visiting professor to national law universities. Friends, I retired after serving for 32 years as a judge and have been conferred with the National Award as Crusader Against Social Evils. Drug abuse refers to the use of narcotic drugs to have mood changing effect on the central nervous system. Today, drug addiction has become an epidemic which is fast spreading among all the countries of the globe. There are over 200 million drug abusers around the world, and the number is increasing at alarming proportions, especially in the most prominent segment of youth in the age group of 17 to 24 years, which can extend to even 40 years. Sometimes children from poorer section of society in the age group of 9 to 14 years engaged as carriers of drugs are falling prey to drug addiction. We have reports that sweets, chocolates, and ice creams having small quantities of narcotic drugs are being sold to school and college students in some of the big cities of the world. Mahatma Gandhi, a great leader, while addressing the All India Social Service Conference in Calcutta in the year 1917, referred to the problem of cocaine in those early days in the following words. The cocaine habit was shaping the nation's manhood, and that, like the drink habit, it was on the increase, but in its effect, even more deadly than drink. Friends, narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances are known in medical science to relieve human sufferings and ailments. Though these drugs and substances are indispensable for relief of pain, stress, and suffering, but at the same time lead to addiction and destruction when abused or misused. The need of strict action for the prevention and detection of drug abuse menace can hardly be overemphasized. There may not be any part of the world which is free from curse of drug addiction and drug trafficking. Millions of drug addicts all over the world are leading a miserable life, struggling between life and death. The problem of drug addiction is most pressing problem being faced by mankind all over the globe, and it has spread its tentacles to every nook and corner. It is not only the addict who suffers, but the family of such addicts suffers disharmony and pain in observing the self-destruction of their family member. Even the employer of such addict suffers in economic terms by way of less productivity, high absenteeism, rising healthcare expenses, while the consumer of goods and services provided by such employer has to pay more for the price of goods and services, and in this way the entire community and the nation suffer. Therefore, every effort must be made to curtail drug addiction. Friends, we must remember that drug abuse or drug addiction is not a law and order problem. It is more of a psycho-social problem, because the addict does not simply use drugs but develops a pathological craving for drugs, and the desire is so strong that the addict must have his drug at all costs, whether in cash or in kind. The dimensions of drug addiction are so high that these have not only claimed millions of lives but have endangered the society as a whole by weakening national economies and shaking even the stability of some of the governments. Now the question rises, what is drug addiction? We talk daily, we hear daily, we read daily. Why drug addiction? And what are the symptoms of drug addicts? How drug addiction? These are some of the important questions pertaining to the problem of drug abuse, which has become the biggest menace of this century. According to Clause 1 of the Act, addict means a person who has dependence on any narcotic drug or psychotropic substance, whereas as per World Health Organization, an addict is one whose disease is characterized by an empowering desire to take recourse to drugs and the tendency to enhance the dosage to satisfy his physical craving and use it as a psychological crutch. Drug addiction, according to me, can be described as a state of psychological and physical dependence on drugs characterized by an overwhelming desire to continue the use of drug by obtaining it by all means and at all costs, a tendency to increase the dosage over a period of time without considering the detrimental effect of drug addiction on individual, society, and the nation. As per my study, friends, most of the addicts in India start with cough syrup and move on to the menu of church, ganja, or opium, and then to brown sugar, and after smoking brown sugar, move further to injecting brown sugar and finally injecting white heroin, etc. Narcotic drugs and psychotropic substances may be taken with the aid of syringe, or may be smoked, or may be eaten, or may be mixed with water and drink, and even may be sniffed. The drugs like pethidine, morphine, and fortwin are injected into the muscle. Heroin in its pure form is also injected. And persons who take drugs with aid of syringes are known as injecting drug users. While delivering lecture at Guwahati organized by COSA for the doctors of 7 states in 1994, it was pointed out by me that drug abuse and spread of HIV virus of deadly disease AIDS are interconnected because there are three ways to acquire AIDS virus, that is through blood, through sex, and by birth. Friends, as we all know, a drug addicted person is mentally ill person and he or she can't think rationally what is good and what is bad. Moreover, a drug addict being a slave to the habit is always ready to pay any price in cash or kind, and even some female addicts may stoop so low to share the bed with any person to get the required dose of drugs, as they are unable to live without regular doses of drugs. Therefore, there is great risk of spreading of AIDS virus due to intelligence in sex by drug addicts if one of such addicts happens to be a patient of AIDS. Moreover, sharing of syringes between drug abusers constitute high risk behavior in the spread of AIDS virus, and drug addicts who take drugs direct to the blood by injections usually share the needle for taking intravenous injections, and if any one of them is suffering from AIDS, the HIV virus may be carried by sharing of the needle to the blood of all those drug addicts using the same needle. Friends, we must remember that drug abuse is an infection, and if it has infected one person in the locality today, it can travel to the whole locality if not checked in time. Then, like any virus, it travels from locality to district, district to state, and from state it spreads all over a country, and from one country to another country, and then to the entire globe, infecting every civilized society irrespective of caste, creed, culture, and geographical location. Thus, every human being whether a judge, a teacher, a law enforcing officer, or a common citizen, must share the concern of the nation to check this menace of drug abuse by strict enforcement of the law. Drug addiction in students, more common in boys than girls in India, exists at secondary school level but is more common at college and university levels. The students lacking parental care, love and affection, and escapists who want to get rid of anxiety are more prone to drug addiction. The symptoms are very important to know the symptoms of drug addicted boy or girl, and the symptoms of drug addicted boy or girl are the presence of one or more of the following traits. First, loss of interest in studies as well as in hobbies, games and sports. So there should be loss in all these activities, not one activity, only study or game, but all these, if it is there, then there are chances that the person may be a drug addict. Second is irregular attendance in school or college. This also presupposes that the boy or girl may be a drug addict. Then third is withdrawal from family and the society. Then fourth, very important, is irregular eating and sleeping habits. Fifth, blank. Some addicts have blank expressions. And then sixth is some of the drug addicts have been found with impaired judgment. They have no impartial judgment, they have impaired judgment. Then some of the drug addicts, when they don't get the drugs, become impulsive and show irritated behavior. Then eighth is low productivity in every field. Every field. Very important is low productivity in every field. Then ninth is having company of bad friends who are indulged in such activities. And then last is spending of long hours in bathrooms, dark places or lonely places. So friends, if any boy or girl in the house is spending long hours in the bathrooms, or he remains in the dark places, or he prefers to be in lonely places, then you may have the doubt that he is a drug addict and you should consult a doctor. This is very important. Now friends, those persons who are addicted to hard drugs like heroin, if they don't get the required drug dose at the regular intervals, what will happen? That is very important. What is the symptoms? Because as a judge we have found that many a times the accused were produced before us who were drug addicts to hard drugs, and when they were not getting the required drug at the regular intervals, then they were becoming increasingly nervous within 8 to 12 hours. So the symptoms are: first 8 to 12 hours of not getting the drugs, the addict becomes increasingly nervous, restless and anxious, and close confinement of addict tends to intensify these symptoms. Then friends, within 12 to 24 hours, that is very important, the addict begins to yawn frequently, sweats profusely, and develops running of eyes and nose like that accompanying a severe bad cold. And within 24 to 36 hours of not getting the dose, and after 24 hours, the pupil of the drug addict dilates, a severe twitching of the muscles occur within 36 hours, leading to development of painful cramps in the back of the legs and abdomen. And within 48 to 72 hours of the not getting the dose, all body fluids are released, vomiting and diarrhea are acute with a little appetite for food, and addict is unable to see. And finally, after 72 hours, what will happen? The addict shall go to the grave of his own making unless he is given expert medical treatment for de-addiction and detoxification to make him a good citizen of the society. So friends, now next week we will discuss the causes of drug abuse and the ways to tackle this problem of drug abuse. Thank you very much.